return to his rightful place at the Potala. He was carrying that pain to see the Tibetans being divided. He was carrying the pain to see Umelam and Rangzen be, at each other. He was carrying the pain of seeing all the three regions, Akam and Amdo Utsang being divided. He was carrying all that pain. And he was carrying the pain and frustration of the Chinese, crackdowns. He was carrying the pain of the Chinese turning Tibet into a complete assimilation. Now we're talking about, this ethnic unity in progress law. Everybody has talked about this in Tibetan and in English and Nepali. But what is ethnic, unity? Basically, it sounds nice. It sounds very poetic. It sounds very beautiful. It sounds like, ethnic unity. So that means everybody, we are all united. Okay, if everybody is ethnically united, then you should allow everybody to practice their ethnicity, practice their culture, practice their religion, practice their traditions, and flourish their language. Then that makes sense. But if I come here and say, we all will be united, we are all going to be ethnically united, but you all have to speak only my language. You speak my language, you follow my tradition. That is what China is doing in Tibet, right? China wants the entire population, all the annexed countries, all the invaded countries, the Uyghurs, the Eastern Turkestan, Inner Mongolia, Tibet, the Falun Gong, Falun Dafa, all of these people, and the Buddhists inside, about 350 million Buddhists inside Tibet. Chinese government's policy is they want everybody to eventually become Han Chinese. They want everybody to speak Mandarin. So that is not ethnic unity. And then progress, see, everybody gauges the barometer of progress. The way we measure progress is always through development, physical development, infrastructure, money, economy. So they want to progress means they build bridges, they build skyscrapers, they build buildings, and they build roads. But that is not progress when the citizens of that people, when the citizens of that nation, that country, or that region are not free. They don't have the right, they don't have the freedom to think on their own. The Chinese government thinks for them. The Chinese government tells them what to think. I'll give you an example. And the reason why I think I do not buy, because I've been an anti-China activist for 30 years. So I don't buy the Chinese bullshit and the Chinese bluff. Because I know, as powerful as they seem from the outside, China is very, very vulnerable and very weak on the inside. And I'll tell you a simple example. Everybody, if you have a house and you have surveillance cameras, CCTV cameras outside your house, that makes sense. Why do you have those CCTV cameras? To prevent burglary, to prevent thieves, to prevent wild animals, to protect your home and your loved ones, right? So that makes sense. But if you have security cameras inside your house, you have security cameras in your kitchen, you have security cameras in your bathroom, you have security cameras in your bedroom, you have security cameras in your car. Every taxi in Lhasa has 3 security cameras inside a taxi. What does that say to you? Does that say that China is a confident, very secure country? No, it exhibits only insecurity. It exhibits incompetence. It exhibits vulnerability. It exhibits weakness. They are weak. So we have to know that China is not this all-powerful, almighty country. China will implode. China will break. According to Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch, there are over 100,000 protests inside China every single year. That has nothing to do with Tibet. Over 100,000 protests inside China. But we don't get to hear about it because they control the media. So they control everything. One-party system. There is no democracy. People they don't have the right to choose. Right? And they call themselves communists. They're not even communists. They're a complete autocratic, totalitarian, capitalistic country. And my dear brothers and sisters, let me tell you something that we should be proud of. China is considered this big superpower today. China is considered, the, the leading country in technology and artificial intelligence and powerful nation. And China's biggest problem, China's biggest enemy is not the United States of America. China's biggest problem is not India. You know what? China's biggest problem is Tibet. China's biggest threat is His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who is just a simple monk. His Holiness is a threat to China. So we have to be proud of that, because China has not been able to buy, to bribe, to kill the ideology of the Tibetans. You cannot kill the ideology. So Tibetan issue is the biggest and the most pressing issue of China. So we Tibetans should not lose hope. We Tibetans have to work hard, we have to be united, we have to be strategic, we have to be intelligent, we have to do our due diligence, we have to do our homework, and then one day, maybe not in our lifetime, but if we contribute, one day Tibet will be free. Now, for all the Indians, I know some of the speakers touched upon this earlier, but I'll tell you why this is important for India and why this matters to Darjeeling Hills. There are 10 rivers flowing from Tibet into Southeast Asia, right? Like Cholas mentioned earlier, Brahmaputra, right? Mekong, Salween, the Indus River, the Yellow River. 2.5 billion people, 2.5 billion people depend on the water that comes from the Tibetan glaciers downstream. And what has China done? China has built over 30,000 dams inside Tibet to reroute and to control that water. Okay, so that is a very big issue for India and India's future. One, somebody also touched